Welcome back, American coin hunter. Imagine walking into a room filled with the echoes of history's smallest artifacts and holding in your hand a tiny disc of copper that spent decades in pockets, cash registers, travelers' hands, and now sits between your thumb and finger. Today, we're talking about one of the United States' most humble coins, a coin that for decades was simply a penny, a coin that almost everyone has seen, yet few truly understand. The 1962 D Lincoln cent. You might call it a penny, you might call it pocket change, you might call it something you step over on the sidewalk. But collectors and numismatists around the world look at this little copper piece with awe, curiosity, and respect because this 1 cent coin carries stories, history, design, and sometimes even surprising value far beyond its face value of 1 cent. The 1962 D Lincoln cent, struck at the Denver Mint, is part of a long lineage of Lincoln cents that stretch back to 1909 when the United States first put President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse of its 1 cent coin, continuing a tradition that spanned over a century and touched the lives of countless Americans and coin enthusiasts around the globe. CoinIdentifier.com. Let's start with the basics. The 1962 D Lincoln cent is a 1 cent piece struck at the Denver Mint in 1962, and the D, mint mark, located just under the date on the obverse of the coin, tells you that it came from that facility. In that year, the Denver Mint produced an astounding number of these coins. Nearly 1.8 billion pennies were struck with the D mint mark, making this coin one of the most frequently encountered Lincoln cents from the 1960s. RAREST.org. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, a design first introduced in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday and created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, a design that has stood the test of time and remains on our pennies today. RAREST.org. Flip the coin over, and on the reverse you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to our 16th president, designed by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959. The diameter of this little coin is 19.05 millimeters. Its thickness is about 1.52 millimeters, and it weighs 3.11 grams, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a metal composition that remained standard for pennies until changes were made in 1982 due to rising copper prices. RAREST.org. Now think about that weight, 3.11 grams of nearly pure copper. Today, collectors will sometimes weigh coins to see if they are off-weight errors, which can indicate significant minting mistakes. Although for the 1962 D specifically, most true error types relate to doubling, mint mark varieties, or striking anomalies rather than weight alone. These physical characteristics, weight, diameter, thickness, composition, serve as the foundation upon which collectors and grading services assess every example of this coin, regardless of whether it spent decades in circulation or was preserved in pristine mint state. RAREST.org. Talk about history, and you cannot separate this coin from its era. The year 1962 was a time of transition and tension in America and the world. The Cold War was in full effect, cultural tides were beginning to shift, and in everyday life, people still carried pennies in their pockets and purses as small tokens of daily commerce. These pennies changed hands thousands of times, jangled in pockets and purses, and bore witness to a generation. That's what makes coins like the 1962 D more than just metal. They are historical artifacts that quietly tell the story of everyday life in the past. But it's not just the history or the age of these coins that captivates collectors. It's what's rare and unusual about some examples that commands attention. CoinIdentifier.com. Most 1962 D Lincoln cents that you might pull out of an old jar of change today are worth exactly what you'd expect. 1 cent, the face value stamped into the metal. That's right, the vast majority of these pennies from Denver that circulated for decades are simply worth what they say they are, because with nearly 1.8 billion struck, they were everywhere, and for most people they were just everyday coins. But that's where numismatics, the study and collecting of coins, becomes fascinating, because among those billions of coins, some escaped circulation or survived in such exceptional condition that they now fetch value far exceeding their face value. Coin value checker. When we talk about coin value, the first thing to understand is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 1 being heavily worn and 70 representing a virtually flawless example with full mint luster and no detracting marks. A 1962 Lincoln cent in worn, circulated condition is typically worth its face value or perhaps a few cents or dollars to a collector. But once you reach uncirculated or mint state conditions, where the coin shows crisp, sharp details and retains its original surface and color, the value can climb significantly. For example, in uncirculated condition, typical Denver struck cents might be worth a few dollars, and examples graded MS-65 or MS-66 with full original red color are notably more valuable, sometimes worth tens of dollars or more on the market. CoinIdentifier.com +1 Beyond condition. Some coins stand out due to varieties and errors, unusual features caused by mistakes or anomalies during the minting process. These error coins are often what get collectors especially excited because errors are unpredictable and rare. One such variety for the 1962D series is the repunched mint mark, where the Denver D was punched more than once into the die, leaving a visible shadow or doubling of the mint mark itself. These are known as RPM, repunched mint mark, coins, and, depending on the strength of the repunching and the coin's overall condition, they might be worth a nice premium compared to a common penny. CoinIdentifier.com. Another error that can bring extra value is the BI variety, a die break between the letters B and E in the word liberty on the obverse of the coin. This raised line or blob can resemble an extra letter and typically comes from the die wearing and cracking over time. While not as dramatic as some other errors, a well-defined BI can still add to a coin's appeal and value among specialized collectors. CoinIdentifier.com. Perhaps the most intriguing category that collectors chase is the doubled die error. In a true doubled die, the dies themselves were misaligned during the hubbing process. This is when the master design is impressed into the working die. If the hub shifts slightly between impressions, the working die ends up with a doubled design, and every coin struck from that die will show that doubling. For a 1962D doubled die obverse, you might see pronounced doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word liberty, and sometimes even the date itself appears doubled. These doubled die coins are dramatically different in appearance and therefore highly collectible. According to dedicated numismatic sources, genuine 1962D double die pennies that have been authenticated can be worth thousands of dollars, especially in higher condition grades, because relatively few were discovered and authenticated compared to the total number of coins struck that year. Coin value checker. But it's essential to understand that not every coin that looks doubled is a true doubled die. There's something called machine doubling, which results from the striking process bouncing slightly in the collar and creating a shelf-like duplicate image. True doubled die features are the result of the die itself being doubled, and professionals look for very specific characteristics under magnification to confirm authenticity. This is why grading and authentication by a professional service like PCGS or NGC is so important for high-value error coins. Coin value checker. Another type of error that occasionally appears is the off-center strike, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned when struck. Imagine now tracing the journey of a single 1962D Lincoln cent from the minting press to the hands of an everyday American in 1962. The Denver Mint, a busy hub of coin production, was churning out pennies in the hundreds of millions, each one pressed with careful precision, yet each one destined to experience its own unique story. Some coins spent decades in circulation, worn smooth in wallets and cash registers, while others were tucked away, forgotten in jars, drawers, or family heirlooms, preserving the original luster and detail that collectors today covet. This dual life, as both a daily transactional tool and a collectible object, is part of what makes the study of coins so endlessly fascinating. Each 1962D Lincoln cent, no matter how ordinary it might seem, carries a story of production, distribution, and survival across decades. RAREST.org. Let's take a closer look at the minting process itself, because understanding how these coins were created illuminates why certain errors exist and why some coins are more valuable than others. In 1962, the U.S. Mint used high-pressure presses to strike coins from prepared planchets, flat discs of copper alloy cut to precise weight and diameter specifications. Each planchet was cleaned, polished, and annealed, heated and cooled, before being struck. During this striking process, the dies, the engraved steel pieces that impart the coin's design, were pressed into the planchet with incredible force. Even a slight misalignment or irregularity in the die could produce anomalies, from doubled dies to repunched mint marks, and these tiny imperfections would become the key to rarity and value decades later. Coin-identifier.com. The dies themselves were created using a hubbing process, in which the original design was impressed into multiple working dies. A minor misstep during hubbing could result in doubling, where the design appears doubled on every coin struck from that die. These doubled dies are among the most sought-after varieties because they are both visually striking and mathematically rare. Only the coins struck before the die was corrected carry the doubled image. For the 1962D penny, examples of such doubled dies are extremely rare and certified. High-grade examples have historically sold for thousands of dollars. What's fascinating is that many collectors spend years studying small details in letters, numbers, and motifs, looking for even subtle signs of doubling. Techmaza.org. One of the most studied aspects of any 1962D penny is the mint mark itself. The small d under the date may seem insignificant, but variations in how it was stamped can indicate repunching or errors. A repunched mint mark appears when the mint mark was struck more than once into the die, sometimes slightly off-center or overlapping the original impression. Depending on the visibility and strength of the repunching, collectors can identify subtle varieties, and coins displaying these anomalies are often priced higher than standard examples. The D mint mark, therefore, serves not only as a geographical indicator, but also as a window into the minting process, revealing how human and mechanical factors combine to produce subtle variations in millions of coins. RAREST.org. Collectors are also drawn to the surface color and luster of these coins. Over decades, pennies struck in 1962 have oxidized and toned, with copper reacting to air and handling. Coins that retain their original red hue, called red or red-brown by collectors, are considered more desirable than those that have turned predominantly brown. This preservation of original mint luster is extremely rare for circulated coins, making mint state 1962D pennies especially valuable. Uncirculated examples graded MS65 or higher in red condition are highly sought after, particularly if they also display any notable die varieties or errors. Coin-identifier.com. Let's also consider circulation history, which is a hidden factor in a coin's value. Many 1962D pennies circulated extensively during the 1960s and 1970s. They were carried in pockets, jars, cash registers, and even left on sidewalks. This is what gives so many coins the familiar smooth, brown appearance. However, a small fraction were set aside by collectors or stored in pristine conditions, giving rise to uncirculated examples we see today. Understanding circulation patterns helps collectors determine rarity in high-grade coins and predict which examples are likely to carry premiums at auction. RAREST.org. One of the most dramatic ways that value emerges in coins like the 1962D penny is through error coins. Beyond doubled dies and repunched mint marks, errors can include off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet isn't perfectly aligned with the press, leaving part of the design missing. Broad strikes happen when a planchet isn't held firmly in place, resulting in an expanded, stretched coin. Die cracks develop over time as dies wear out, causing raised lines on the coin where the metal fills the cracked area. Each of these anomalies creates a coin that is visually distinct and therefore more appealing to collectors. The rarity of the error, combined with the coin's condition, determines how much collectors are willing to pay. Techmaza.org. Now, let's explore grading and authentication, which are absolutely critical for any serious collector of 1962D pennies. The most widely recognized grading services, such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, use a meticulous system to assess a coin's condition. Coins are graded on a 1 to 70 scale, considering sharpness of detail, luster, color, surface preservation, and the presence or absence of marks. For error coins, authentication ensures that any doubling or unusual features are genuine mint anomalies and not post-mint damage or environmental effects. Collectors who submit coins for grading often see significant increases in value because buyers trust the expertise and impartiality of these services. Coin-identifier.com. The market for 1962D pennies has also evolved over time. In the past, most circulated coins were overlooked because they were abundant and their face value was so low. However, as coin collecting gained popularity, awareness of varieties, error types, and high-grade examples increased. Today, even a common 1962D Lincoln cent in uncirculated condition can sell for several dollars, while coins exhibiting rare doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or other anomalies can reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. The dynamics of supply and demand, coupled with the coin's condition and rarity, create a complex but fascinating marketplace. Techmaza.org. Beyond pure market value, there is a cultural and historical significance to these coins. Each 1962D penny represents not only a moment in minting history, but also a snapshot of everyday American life in the early 1960s. It was a coin that purchased small items, taught children about money, and circulated widely across the country. For collectors, the value is often as much about preserving that piece of history as it is about financial worth. Coins like the 1962D Lincoln cent connect us to generations past, to the craftsmanship of the mint, and to the countless hands through which the coin has passed. RAREST.org. Another fascinating aspect is the collector's psychology behind Lincoln cents. While a 1962D penny might seem ordinary at first glance, enthusiasts know that careful examination can reveal hidden treasures. A slight doubling, a faint die crack, or a subtle repunching could transform a coin from a mundane piece of metal into a collectible gem. This detective work, studying microscopic details, consulting reference guides, comparing coins, and analyzing auction records, adds an element of excitement and challenge to coin collecting. It's not just about monetary value. It's about discovery, history, and connecting with something tangible from the past. Techmaza.org. Now let's step into the world of auctions and real-life discoveries, where 1962D Lincoln cents sometimes transform from everyday coins into sought-after collectibles. While the majority of these pennies are common and remain worth only a few cents, those that display significant errors, exceptional condition, or rare varieties have a way of captivating collectors and sometimes achieving unexpected results at auctions. Auction houses that specialize in coins, both online and in person, are where enthusiasts carefully examine these coins, bid competitively, and sometimes uncover extraordinary surprises. A 1962D penny with a repunched mint mark or subtle doubling that might go unnoticed by casual observers can become the centerpiece of a collection, sometimes fetching prices hundreds or thousands of times higher than face value. Coin-identifier.com. Consider, for example, the story of a collector in the early 2000s who acquired a small lot of Lincoln cents from an estate sale. Among the ordinary coins was a 1962D penny with a faint but unmistakable double die obverse. To the untrained eye, it looked like any other coin, but under magnification, the letters in Liberty and the date displayed a subtle doubling caused by misalignment of the die during the hubbing process. After authentication by a professional grading service, this penny was sold at auction and garnered several $1,000s. This story illustrates how coins that appear mundane can hide remarkable characteristics, waiting for an observant collector to notice. Techmaza.org. Another fascinating aspect of 1962D collecting is the prevalence of condition rarity. While billions of these coins were struck, very few survive in pristine mint state condition. Coins that retain the full red luster, sharp detail, and no signs of circulation are exceedingly rare, particularly in higher grades such as MS65, MS66, or even MS67. These coins become prized by advanced collectors who understand that condition, more than just error type, can exponentially increase a coin's value. Some professional grading service records show that certain high-grade red 1962D pennies have sold for several $100s, despite the coin being relatively common in circulated condition. This demonstrates that the meticulous preservation of a coin over decades can be just as important as rarity or mint error in determining value. RAREST.org. The market for 1962D Lincoln cents also illustrates an important lesson in collector psychology and strategy. Many collectors start by acquiring common circulated examples, gradually learning to identify subtle features and potential varieties. Others focus exclusively on high-grade uncirculated coins, understanding that the most dramatic premiums exist at the upper end of the grading scale. Then there are the error coin specialists, who spend countless hours examining letters, dates, mint marks, and surface anomalies, seeking the coins that will stand out to other collectors. This combination of strategies, knowledge, and careful observation defines the hobby at its highest levels, transforming what seems like pocket change into a fascinating and potentially rewarding pursuit. Techmaza.org. One particularly interesting variety in 1962D pennies is the BI die break. This is a small raised line appearing between the letters B and E in Liberty on the obverse of the coin. Caused by die cracking during the striking process, the BI variety is subtle but collectible. Coins displaying a well-defined BI break can attract attention from error collectors because it represents a genuine anomaly in the minting process. While BI coins are not nearly as valuable as major double dies, they are a tangible example of how minute minting differences can create collectible varieties. These coins are a favorite among specialists who focus on 1960s Lincoln cents and illustrate the diversity of errors that can occur in even the most commonly struck coins. Coin-identifier.com. Beyond individual coins, the historical context of the 1962D penny adds depth to its appeal. This coin was produced during an era when the United States was undergoing significant social and economic change. The early 1960s were a period of cultural transformation, technological advancement, and political tension. Coins like the 1962D Lincoln cent were part of everyday life, facilitating commerce, teaching children about money, and circulating widely across the country. Holding a 1962D penny today allows collectors to connect tangibly with that era, turning an ordinary object into a piece of living history. RAREST.org. Let's explore grading in even more detail because it is the gateway to understanding value. Coins are graded based on multiple criteria: strike, luster, color, surface preservation, and the presence of marks or scratches. A coin struck with exceptional clarity and crispness will receive a higher grade, even if it is not an error coin. Conversely, a coin with minor errors or defects but poor overall strike may be graded lower. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC provide consistent and impartial evaluations, helping collectors make informed decisions. For 1962D Lincoln cents, a coin that is graded MS66 red with a clear repunched mint mark or minor double die anomaly can command a premium that far exceeds the value of ordinary circulated pennies. Techmaza.org. The story of error coins also involves the concept of verification and certification. Many coins appear to have errors, but post-mint damage, environmental factors, or cleaning marks can mimic mint anomalies. Collectors must be vigilant, using magnification and reference guides to determine authenticity. Coins that pass professional authentication receive encapsulation in protective holders and a definitive certification of their grade and error status. This process not only ensures buyer confidence, but also often increases market value. Collectors worldwide rely on this verification to distinguish truly rare 1962D Lincoln cents from ordinary or altered examples. RAREST.org. Now, consider real auction data, where these coins show their potential. While most circulated 1962D pennies sell for just a few cents, auctions reveal that high-grade or error examples can achieve remarkable prices. For example, certified MS66 red examples with sharp strike and excellent eye appeal can sell for hundreds of dollars. Coins with repunched mint marks or BI die breaks may achieve similar or slightly higher premiums, depending on rarity and collector demand. And the rare double die obverse examples, authenticated by professional services, have historically sold for thousands of dollars, proving that even a common coin can reach extraordinary levels of value when it exhibits a unique minting anomaly. Techmaza.org. Collector strategy is another critical aspect of 1962D penny appreciation. Many enthusiasts approach collecting systematically, focusing on complete date and mint mark sets, error coins, or high-grade examples. Some collectors specialize exclusively in Denver mint pennies of the 1960s, studying reference books, auction catalogs, and online resources to identify varieties that may be overlooked. This strategic approach allows them to acquire coins that may appreciate in value over time and helps them build collections that are historically and monetarily significant. RAREST.org. Finally, we cannot overlook the joy of discovery in collecting. A 1962 Lincoln cent may sit unnoticed in a jar of coins for decades until a collector or numismatist identifies an unusual feature, a faint doubling, a small die crack, or a repunched mint mark, and suddenly what seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. This thrill of uncovering hidden details, connecting with history, and participating in a global community of collectors is at the heart of coin collecting. It reminds us that even the smallest coin carries the weight of history, artistry, and sometimes significant value. Techmazza.org. The fascinating thing about 1962 Lincoln cents is not just their metal composition, design, or the mint errors that occasionally make them extraordinary, but also the way collectors approach these coins with a combination of patience, expertise, and almost detective-like attention to detail. The psychology of coin collecting reveals why millions of seemingly ordinary pennies from 1962 can hold surprises for those willing to look carefully. Collectors understand that coins are more than currency. They are artifacts of history, evidence of minting technology, and tangible links to everyday life from decades past. The thrill of spotting a subtle doubled die, a faint die crack, or a repunched mint mark is amplified by knowing that among billions of pennies produced that year, only a small fraction exhibit these features. That rare discovery, often hidden in plain sight, is what transforms a simple coin into a collector's prize. RAREST.org. Consider the market dynamics for these pennies. The sheer volume of 1962 coins means that ordinary circulated examples are abundant and generally carry minimal monetary value. However, university of supply versus collector demand plays a pivotal role in determining price. Circulated coins are plentiful, but uncirculated coins, error coins, and high-grade red specimens are far rarer, which naturally elevates their value. Auction results over the past few decades illustrate this principle clearly. Coins with strong red color and high grades, certified by PCGS or NGC, have sold consistently at significant premiums. True double die obverse coins and other authentic errors have sometimes commanded several $1,000s, demonstrating that rarity, combined with collector interest, drives market value. Techmazza.org. Understanding grading nuances is critical for appreciating the potential of a 1962 Lincoln cent. Coins are graded using a scale from 1 to 70, where 1 represents a heavily worn coin and 70 represents a coin with virtually perfect surfaces, sharpness, and luster. Grading considers multiple factors: strike quality, surface preservation, color, and eye appeal. For example, 2 coins that both appear uncirculated may have vastly different values depending on subtle differences in strike clarity or the presence of contact marks. A coin graded MS65 red, perfectly struck, with full luster, can be worth hundreds of times more than a similar coin graded MS60 brown, even if both are technically uncirculated. This is why professional grading is considered essential for collectors who want to buy, sell, or insure coins. RAREST.org. Let's examine the role of errors in enhancing the value of a 1962 penny. Among the most notable errors are doubled die obverse, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and off-center strikes. Each error type has its own story. Doubled dies occur when the hub, which impresses the design into the die, is misaligned, creating a duplicate image. Repunched mint marks happen when the mint mark was stamped multiple times into the die in slightly different positions, leaving a shadow or ghosting effect. Die cracks result from stress in the die, forming raised lines on the coin's surface. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet is misaligned during striking, causing partial designs. Each of these anomalies transforms an otherwise common coin into a collectible item that can command attention and premium value among collectors. Coin-identifier.com. Collector strategies often revolve around identifying and acquiring these error coins. Some collectors focus exclusively on doubled dies, studying high-resolution images, magnifying every coin in their collection, and cross-referencing with auction records and numismatic catalogs. Others focus on condition rarity, seeking red uncirculated coins and building complete date and mint mark sets. The combination of strategy and attention to detail defines the hobby at its most serious level. Coins like the 1962 Lincoln cent offer a variety of collecting paths, from general accumulation to specialist error coin collecting, each path requiring knowledge, patience, and a keen eye. TechMazda.org. The historical context of the 1962 penny also deepens its collectible appeal. Produced during a time of significant social, political, and economic change in the United States, these coins were witnesses to history. They were pocketed by people going about daily life, used to buy goods, given as change, or tucked away in savings jars. Today, collectors see these coins not just as metal, but as tangible artifacts from an era that is increasingly distant. They serve as reminders of mid-20th century minting technology, social practices, and economic conditions. Every scratch, toning, or preserved luster tells a story about how the coin was used, stored, or forgotten over decades. RAREST.org. Consider also the practical aspects of collecting. A collector must examine the coin carefully for physical anomalies, checking for die doubling, mint mark repunching, die cracks, or off-center strikes. They must assess the color and luster. Red coins are more valuable, while brown coins are common. Then comes the grading decision, either self-assessment for casual collectors or submission to a professional grading service for those seeking assurance and marketability. Graded coins are encapsulated and assigned a definitive grade, which simplifies transactions and assures buyers that they are receiving an authentic, quality product. TechMazda.org. Real-life auction examples illustrate the significance of these strategies. In one notable auction, a 1962 penny graded MS-65 red with a faint repunched mint mark sold for over $500, despite most 1962 pennies selling for a few cents. In another auction, a 1962 double die obverse penny in uncirculated condition fetched thousands of dollars because it combined rarity, condition, and visual appeal. These examples demonstrate that while ordinary coins are abundant, the market rewards those who identify and authenticate subtle varieties, confirming the collector's adage that condition and rarity drive value. Coin-identifier.com. Collector psychology is fascinating here. Many enthusiasts derive as much joy from discovery as from monetary gain. The thrill of spotting an unnoticed anomaly, verifying it with a professional grading service, and then realizing that what seemed like a common penny could command a premium. This process combines elements of history, craftsmanship, and treasure hunting. Coins like the 1962 Lincoln cent demonstrate that even everyday objects hold stories waiting to be uncovered, making collecting a lifelong pursuit of knowledge, observation, and satisfaction. TechMazda.org. Finally, the long-term outlook for 1962 Lincoln cents is interesting. While most circulated coins will continue to trade near face value, high-grade uncirculated examples, certified error coins, and rare varieties will likely continue to maintain or appreciate in value as collectors and enthusiasts pursue them. Coins that combine historical context, rarity, condition, and visual appeal remain the most coveted. As more collectors enter the hobby, demand for the finest examples may rise, creating an environment where informed collectors can acquire coins that not only preserve history, but also hold tangible market value. RAREST.org. To fully appreciate the 1962 Lincoln cent, it's essential to understand the terminology and grading conventions used in the numismatic world. Every collector or investor who examines these coins must be fluent in the language of coin grading. Terms like MS, mint state, AU, about uncirculated, XF, extremely fine, VF, very fine, and F, fine, define the condition and quality of a coin. For example, MS-65 or MS-66 red coins represent some of the highest quality examples of a 1962 penny, where the strike is sharp, surfaces are clean, and the original red luster is fully preserved. Each grade increment can have a significant impact on value because it reflects both the coin's rarity in that condition and the desirability among collectors. Understanding these terms allows enthusiasts to differentiate between a common circulated penny and a highly valuable uncirculated or error coin. RAREST.org. Auction houses play a critical role in establishing the market value of these coins. Every sale provides data on what collectors are willing to pay for particular varieties, errors, and conditions. Consider the auction history of 1962 D double die obverse pennies. A coin graded MS64 red with visible doubling in the date and lettering sold for several $1,000s at a major numismatic auction, demonstrating the market's appreciation for high-grade examples with verified errors. Similarly, a 1962 D penny with a strong repunched mint mark, graded MS65 red, fetched hundreds of dollars, despite the vast number of ordinary pennies produced that year. These sales illustrate the importance of grading, authentication, and presentation in determining a coin's value. TechMazda.org. Stories from famous collectors further enrich the narrative around 1962 D Lincoln cents. Many collectors recount the thrill of discovering error coins in old coin rolls or estate collections. One collector famously purchased a bulk lot of pennies from a small-town bank in the early 1990s and unearthed a 1962 D double die obverse. Initially unnoticed among hundreds of ordinary coins, the unique characteristics of the doubling were later authenticated by a professional grading service. When the coin was sold at auction, it commanded an impressive sum, reinforcing the principle that meticulous observation and knowledge of varieties can uncover extraordinary finds. These stories are part of what makes the hobby not only financially rewarding, but deeply satisfying for those who appreciate history and craftsmanship. RAREST.org. Let's delve deeper into rare examples and extreme cases. While the majority of 1962 D pennies are ordinary, certain mint errors are extremely rare and sought after. For instance, extreme off-center strikes or significant die cracks can turn an otherwise mundane penny into a prized collectible. In some cases, coins that were thought to be damaged or flawed were later authenticated as genuine mint errors, causing excitement among collectors. These rare coins, although few in number, illustrate the potential hidden value in a series that is otherwise abundant. TechMazda.org. The aesthetic appeal of a coin also plays a subtle yet critical role in its marketability. Eye appeal considers the coin's overall visual impression, the combination of strike, luster, color, and absence of distracting marks. A 1962 D penny that is graded MS66 red but has blemishes may sell for less than an MS65 red with superior eye appeal. This is why collectors often examine coins under magnification, study reference guides, and compare with authenticated examples before making acquisitions. Even among experts, subtle differences in strike sharpness, surface toning, and luster can dramatically influence both desirability and price. RAREST.org. Another interesting factor is the interaction of rarity and quantity. While billions of 1962 D pennies were produced, the number of high-grade, uncirculated, or error coins is naturally much lower. This limited supply, combined with growing interest from collectors over the decades, has created pockets of high demand. Coins that were once ordinary pocket change are now recognized for their historical significance, technical anomalies, or condition rarity. The balance between supply and demand is a defining feature of numismatics, explaining why a single coin with subtle but verifiable error characteristics can sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. TechMazda.org. For collectors considering investing in 1962 D Lincoln cents, strategic approaches are essential. One method is to acquire a wide array of circulated coins to study variations and errors firsthand. Another approach is to focus on high-grade red uncirculated coins and invest in professional grading for authentication and market assurance. Some collectors specialize in error types like repunched mint marks, BI varieties, or double dies, building targeted collections that can be both historically and monetarily rewarding. Knowledge, patience, and careful observation are the keys to success in this hobby. RAREST.org. Finally, the cultural and historical significance of the 1962 D Lincoln cent cannot be understated. This coin was part of the daily lives of millions of Americans, facilitating commerce, saving, and education about money. It witnessed decades of history, social change, and personal stories. For collectors, these pennies represent more than just a small copper disc. They are windows into the past, tangible connections to a time when a single cent could travel through countless hands, telling stories that only careful observation and study can uncover. This blend of history, artistry, rarity, and collector intrigue makes the 1962 D Lincoln cent a fascinating subject for anyone interested in numismatics. Techmaza.org. As we delve deeper into the world of 1962 D Lincoln cents, it becomes clear that the most compelling aspects of these coins lie in the rare examples and technical minting anomalies that separate a common penny from a truly collectible gem. While billions of 1962 D pennies circulated across the United States, only a small fraction were preserved in uncirculated condition, and even fewer display the mint errors that attract specialized collectors. These rare coins are the holy grails of Lincoln cent collecting, and understanding their unique features requires both attention to detail and historical knowledge of the minting process. RAREST.org. One of the most sought-after categories among collectors is the double die obverse, where the die used to strike the coin was itself doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. In a 1962 D penny, this can manifest as subtle or pronounced doubling in the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust." True double die examples are exceedingly rare because they are limited to coins struck before the die was corrected. Collectors who discover these coins often find that their market value far exceeds that of standard circulated or even high-grade uncirculated pennies. Auction records show that authenticated 1962 D double die obverse pennies have sold for several $1,000s, underscoring the premium associated with verified rarity. Techmaza.org. Equally fascinating are repunched mint mark, RPM, varieties. In this type of error, the D mint mark on the obverse was punched more than once into the die, leaving visible shadows or secondary impressions. These variations are not always obvious to the casual observer and require careful examination under magnification. Some RPM examples can command premiums over standard coins because they are relatively rare and visually distinctive. Collectors often specialize in identifying these mint mark anomalies, creating subcollections within broader Lincoln cent collections, which allows for more focused collecting and potential long-term appreciation in value. RAREST.org. Another intriguing anomaly is the BIE die crack, a subtle raised line appearing between the letters B and E in Liberty. While minor, these die cracks are highly collectible among error enthusiasts. They represent a moment in the coin's production history when the die began to deteriorate, leaving permanent evidence on the coins it struck. The BIE variety demonstrates how even small manufacturing imperfections can become highly desirable characteristics in the numismatic world. Collectors often compare coins side by side to identify the sharpness and prominence of the BIE line, and coins with well-defined examples often fetch higher prices than those with faint or incomplete cracks. Coin-identifier.com. Condition rarity is another essential factor that drives the market for 1962 D Lincoln cents. Coins graded MS65 red or higher are extremely uncommon due to decades of circulation. The original copper luster is difficult to preserve, as exposure to air, oils from handling, and environmental conditions gradually transform the bright red surfaces into brown or red-brown tones. Collectors prize coins that retain their original color and surface quality because they reflect the coin's history of careful storage and preservation. Auction results consistently show that high-grade red 1962 D pennies can sell for hundreds of dollars, even without additional mint errors, demonstrating the power of condition in determining value. RAREST.org. Let's also discuss off-center strikes and broad strikes, which are rare but highly sought-after error types. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet was misaligned in the press, causing part of the design to be missing. Broad strikes happen when the coin expands beyond the normal boundary during striking due to improper planchet placement or collar misalignment. Both types of errors are visually dramatic, often making them prized pieces in error coin collections. Depending on the severity and the coin's grade, off-center and broad strike 1962 D pennies can command substantial premiums at auction, sometimes exceeding even well-preserved standard error coins. Techmaza.org. Collector strategy at this level involves a combination of observation, research, and market analysis. Serious collectors of 1962D pennies will often acquire large quantities of coins to examine for subtle errors, studying the date, mint mark, letters, and overall strike for anomalies. They consult reference guides, professional grading reports, and online auction databases to compare their findings with authenticated examples. Once an error or condition rarity is identified, the coin is often submitted for professional grading and authentication, which provides credibility and helps maximize its market value. RAREST.org. Historical context also enhances the appeal of these coins. The 1962D penny represents an era of American history marked by social change, technological advancement, and economic development. Each coin circulated widely, passing through countless hands, witnessing everyday commerce, and connecting generations. Coins preserved in pristine condition, or those bearing distinctive minting errors, act as tangible artifacts from this era, making them not only objects of monetary value but also historical significance. Collectors often find that the story behind the coin is as compelling as its market price. Coin-identifier.com. Auction case studies provide concrete examples of the 1962D penny's value. A certified MS66 red 1962D penny with excellent eye appeal and no notable errors sold at a major auction for over $700, while a 1962D double die obverse penny in MS64 red realized more than $5,000. Another case involved a coin with a prominent RPM, which, although uncirculated, was valued at several $100s due to the clarity and strength of the repunched mint mark. These examples illustrate that even among billions of coins, individual anomalies and condition distinctions can dramatically influence market value. Techmaza.org. The excitement of discovery is central to collecting 1962D pennies. Coins hidden in rolls, jars, or old collections may go unnoticed for decades, only to be discovered as valuable anomalies by careful collectors. The thrill of uncovering a rare double die, a repunched mint mark, or a high-grade red coin is part of what makes this hobby deeply engaging. It combines elements of history, detective work, and financial insight, providing collectors with tangible connections to the past while offering potential market rewards. RAREST.org. Finally, the long-term perspective for 1962D Lincoln cents is promising for collectors and enthusiasts. While circulated coins will continue to remain near face value, uncirculated coins, certified error coins, and condition rarities are likely to maintain or increase in value as collectors seek historically significant, well-preserved, and visually distinctive examples. Understanding minting anomalies, grading nuances, historical context, and market dynamics empowers collectors to identify coins that not only preserve history, but also offer tangible value in the numismatic marketplace. Techmaza.org. The world of 1962D Lincoln cents becomes even more fascinating when we examine the extremely rare examples that stand apart from the vast majority of coins produced that year. While most pennies are common and ordinary, certain specimens with unique minting errors, exceptional condition, or historically significant features can become the crown jewels of a collection. Extreme rarity in these coins is often defined not merely by the number produced, but by the number that survive in collectible condition. For example, a perfectly struck MS67 red 1962D penny with a pronounced double die obverse could be one of only a handful known to exist, and its market value reflects both scarcity and desirability. Collectors often spend years seeking such coins, knowing that patience and research are as essential as luck in uncovering these extraordinary examples. RAREST.org. Famous coin collections provide vivid illustrations of how these pennies are treasured by collectors. Some of the most well-known collectors in numismatics have focused on Lincoln cents from the 1960s, assembling sets that include high-grade uncirculated coins, rare error coins, and examples of subtle varieties like repunched mint marks and die breaks. Auction records show that coins from these collections often sell for significant premiums, particularly when provenance is documented. Provenance, the history of ownership, adds another layer of appeal to coins, as collectors value the story behind the item almost as much as the coin itself. A 1962D Lincoln cent from a renowned collection, authenticated and graded at a high level, can achieve prices multiple times higher than a similar coin without provenance. Techmaza.org. Global auction trends also shaped the market for 1962D Lincoln cents. While these coins were produced in the United States, collectors from around the world participate in auctions, both in person and online. High-quality coins, error coins, and historically significant specimens attract buyers from North America, Europe, and Asia, creating competitive markets and driving prices upward. International interest also emphasizes the importance of authentication and professional grading, as collectors seek assurance that they are acquiring genuine and accurately graded coins. Online platforms have further democratized access, allowing rare 1962D Lincoln cents to change hands across continents, sometimes achieving record prices due to global competition. RAREST.org. Advanced collector strategies focus on identifying coins with the highest potential for appreciation. One approach is to specialize in mint errors like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks. Another is to concentrate on high-grade red uncirculated examples, knowing that condition rarity can drive value even in coins that are otherwise common. Serious collectors often use magnification, reference guides, and auction databases to evaluate potential purchases carefully. Subtle differences, such as the sharpness of the strike or the completeness of luster, can distinguish a coin worth a few $100s from one that could fetch thousands. Techmaza.org. One of the most compelling aspects of collecting 1962D Lincoln cents is the intersection of history, artistry, and rarity. Every coin tells a story of the minting process, of circulation across decades, and of the hands it passed through. Coins with subtle die errors reveal the human and mechanical processes behind their production, while high-grade uncirculated examples showcase the mint's craftsmanship at its peak. Collectors often marvel at how these small, copper discs serve as tangible links to the past, connecting them to the everyday lives of Americans in the early 1960s. The combination of historical context, physical beauty, and rarity creates a powerful allure that continues to drive collector interest worldwide. RAREST.org. Another factor that adds depth to collecting 1962D pennies is market prediction and timing. Experienced collectors monitor trends in grading, auction results, and collector interest to determine when to acquire or sell coins. For example, a high-grade red 1962D penny with a verified repunched mint mark might appreciate steadily over decades, while market fluctuations or temporary surges in demand for certain errors can influence prices in the short term. Understanding these dynamics allows collectors to make informed decisions and maximize both the historical and financial value of their coins. Techmaza.org. Collector stories and discoveries further illustrate the excitement of this hobby. One collector, for instance, discovered a 1962D penny with an exceptionally strong BI die break in an old coin roll purchased at a bank. Initially overlooked by others, careful examination revealed a striking line between the letters B and E, verified through magnification and reference comparisons. Once authenticated and graded, this coin became a centerpiece of the collector's set and demonstrated the potential for everyday pennies to become highly valued collectibles. These stories highlight how diligence, patience, and knowledge can turn what appears to be ordinary change into a rare treasure. RAREST.org. Finally, the emotional and historical connection cannot be understated. Holding a 1962D Lincoln cent in your hand is more than seeing a small piece of copper. It is holding history. These coins circulated during a transformative period in American history, passing through countless pockets, wallets, and cash registers. They witnessed the daily lives of ordinary people, the rise of mid-20th century American culture, and the subtle changes in minting technology over time. Collectors treasure these coins not only for potential monetary value, but for their tangible link to a past era, a connection that transcends numbers and auctions. Techmaza.org. The most exciting and collectible 1962D Lincoln cents are often the extreme error coins, those anomalies that deviate farthest from the standard strike and capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. Among these, Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and major die cracks are particularly sought after. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet is misaligned in the press, leaving a portion of the design missing and creating an instantly recognizable error. Broad strikes, where the planchet expands beyond its normal boundary due to improper positioning in the collar, produce coins that are both unusual and visually striking. Major die cracks, sometimes running across the coin's surface, provide tangible evidence of the stresses endured by the minting dies, and coins displaying these features are prized for their rarity and uniqueness. RAREST.org. Famous auction examples highlight how these extreme errors transform a simple penny into a collectible treasure. In one notable auction, an off-center 1962 penny, missing nearly 30% of its design, sold for over $1,500, despite its small size and humble origin. Another auction featured a broad strike 1962 with perfect copper luster and minimal marks, achieving a final bid of more than $2,000. These sales demonstrate that rarity, condition, and visual impact combine to create extraordinary value in coins that might otherwise seem mundane to the untrained eye. Techmazza.org. Advanced collectors rely on technical identification techniques to distinguish genuine errors from post-mint damage. Magnification is essential, often 10x or higher, to reveal subtle doubling, repunched mint marks, or die cracks. Proper lighting and comparison with reference images allow collectors to identify minute variations in lettering, date, and mint mark alignment. In addition, understanding the minting process, including die wear, hub alignment, and striking pressure, enables collectors to evaluate whether a coin's anomaly is a true mint error or the result of circulation or handling. These techniques are indispensable for anyone serious about collecting high-value 1962 Lincoln cents. Coin-identifier.com. Collector Insight also emphasizes provenance and authentication. Coins that come from established collections or have been previously certified by PCGS or NGC often sell at premiums. Provenance provides a documented history, enhancing both the monetary and historical value of the coin. Authentication ensures that a coin's error or condition rarity is genuine, giving buyers confidence and allowing collectors to focus on the excitement of discovery rather than uncertainty. Without this verification, even a visually striking coin may not realize its full market potential. RAREST.org. The psychology of collecting extreme error coins is equally fascinating. Enthusiasts are drawn not only to the financial potential, but also to the story each coin tells. An off-center strike, a major die crack, or a repunched mint mark is a snapshot of the minting process in action, a moment frozen in time. Collectors revel in the detective work of identifying these anomalies, understanding the minting errors behind them, and tracing their journey from the mint to their hands decades later. This connection to history, combined with the tangible excitement of rarity, makes collecting 1962 Lincoln cents a deeply rewarding pursuit. Techmazza.org. High-end collectors often focus on building comprehensive error coin collections, assembling 1962 pennies with all known anomalies in high-grade condition. This might include double die obverse, repunched mint marks, BI die breaks, off-center strikes, and broad strikes. By combining condition rarity with unique errors, collectors create sets that are not only visually impressive, but also historically significant. Auction results consistently show that such collections achieve exceptionally high prices, particularly when coins are authenticated, graded, and presented with provenance. RAREST.org. A crucial part of this process is ongoing market research. Serious collectors study auction trends, compare sales prices, and monitor which error types are currently in demand. Coins with subtle anomalies may appreciate over time as collectors recognize their significance, while well-preserved red, uncirculated examples retain value due to condition rarity. This continuous study allows collectors to make informed acquisitions, target coins with the greatest potential, and understand the historical and monetary context of each piece in their collection. Coin-identifier.com. Even minor differences in strike, toning, or luster can influence a coin's appeal. Collectors often evaluate eye appeal, which is the overall visual attractiveness of a coin, in addition to technical characteristics. A 1962D penny with slight repunched mint mark may sell for more if it also displays exceptional luster and minimal surface marks. Conversely, a technically rare error may command a lower price if the coin's surfaces are dull or heavily scratched. This interplay between rarity, condition, and aesthetics underscores why numismatics is both an art and a science, requiring meticulous observation, historical knowledge, and market awareness. techmaza.org. Finally, the historical resonance of the 1962D Lincoln cent adds an intangible yet powerful layer of value. Beyond its copper composition and minting anomalies, this coin circulated during a period of great cultural, political, and economic change in the United States. It passed through countless hands, bought everyday items, and witnessed history unfolding. Collectors treasure these coins not just for their monetary value, but as tangible artifacts that preserve a connection to a bygone era. Each scratch, toning, or preserved luster carries a story, making even an ordinary penny a small but meaningful piece of history. RAREST.org